Ladies and gentlemen, the recipient of the 2019 Outstanding Contribution Bryden Alumni Award, Dr. Robert Krembil.
So thank you for this award. I'm honored. I'm especially honored when I look at all the people that have won Bryden Awards in the past, or just the three speakers that preceded me. This is I'm in very good company. I was sitting there listening to particularly Kimberly and wondering exactly what I'm doing here, but here I am. So thank you for the award. Thought I would thank one other person. I don't think I've ever done this in public. I think it's time I did, and it's important this time. That's my partner and wife of the last 55 years, Linda Krembil. You're blushing. She's been just a strong supporter for me throughout my career. Loads of encouragement in the low points, and most important, she's probably my most effective critic. So thank you, Linda. So, why York? That was asked of me when we were doing the video. I think I sort of fumbled the answer because I think it wound up on the cutting floor. So I'll give it a try now. And it's a bit of a story. And like Eva's, it starts in 1966. I was in my first job in the investment business. I was an investment analyst with an insurance company, and my role was to analyze the securities of public companies. And I really liked it, and I decided that I'd found my calling. I was going to be an investment manager. And so I enrolled in the Institute of Chartered Financial Analysts to get my CFA, which is sort of the accredited thing for all worldwide investment managers around the world. But I thought, since I'm going to be spending my time in life using public equities, these are really shares in businesses, having an MBA might make a lot of sense. And one big problem with wanting to do that is Linda and I were, this is 1966, and Linda and I were expecting our first child. So we were shortly going to be down to one paycheck, and we had zero savings, so there's no way I would be able to quit and go back to university for a couple of years to get an MBA. But fortunately, this again was 1966, and guess what? York had decided to repatriate Jim Gillies back to Canada and start a business school. They called it the Faculty of Administrative Studies at the time. And fortunate for me, Dean Gillies decided that as part of his MBA program, he would also offer a part-time option. That meant that you go to school weeknights, travel up to York in the middle of January. It wasn't so much fun, but and then do that for 4 to 5 years, and you get your MBA. Bingo, that worked for me, and so I signed up, and in 1971, I graduated with my MBA, and I wouldn't have been able to get it any other way, and so I'm forever indebted to York for doing that. Story doesn't quite end there. By the way, I wouldn't advise doing a part-time. It was an option, only option I had, but it's, and Dean Gillies was very visionary because there were a lot of other people in the same boat. Most of my classmates at the time were in a similar situation, and most of them have gone on to have very successful careers in industry and in the health area. Next, the year after I graduated, I did what I always thought I would do, is work for myself eventually. And so I started my first business with a partner. This was the 70s, didn't work out so well, so had to go back and get another job. But I learned a lot from that experience, and we started another business in 1981 with a couple of other partners, and it was an investment management business. We called it Trimark, and that one worked out pretty well. So meanwhile, back at York, things were changing, and in 1988, Deza Horvath became dean of what was still then the Faculty of Administrative Studies. And his, I think his initial statement on the objectives for the school were that he was going to create a transnational business school at York. That's a fairly audacious statement, and but the dean, for those that know him, is a force of nature, and so things started to happen. And how's all that worked out? So fast forward to now, 31 years later, and look at the business school, which is now called the Schulich Business School. There are some 29,000 alumni, and they work in over 90 different countries. We have a satellite campus in Hyderabad in India. I got that pronunciation right. And representative offices in Mumbai, in Beijing, Seoul, Korea, and Moscow. I learned today as well in Brazil, Sao Paulo, and Mexico City in Mexico. This is incredible. But most important, the Schulich School of Business has now become a top business school around the world, and it's recognized for its capability, particularly in the international sense. So that's a terrific accomplishment, and for all of those that had got their degree in the late 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, the Schulich Business School of today has really elevated the value of those degrees, the credential value. For that, I thank you. So, with that background, obviously when we were ready to spend more time on philanthropy, York was was up on the list. In 2000, we sold our company, Trimark, and I forgot to mention, the dean, besides being a visionary, is also a pretty good fundraiser. So witness getting Seymour Schulich to pony up in 1995 and help construct the education facility for the school, and then put his name on it. So it wasn't long after we sold Trimark that the dean came calling, and he was after money to build out the executive training center. I didn't want to do bricks and mortar. I was more interested in scholarships, but the dean's persistent, and so we split it 50-50, and then time went on. Now, you saw in the clip that the scholarship program has really been quite successful. There are more than 100 students, some in this room, who have benefited from the Krembil Scholar. It's something that pleases me and Linda and my family, and I think it's good for the university. Having a scholarship like that attracts the best and the brightest, and that helps the reputation of the university, helps the reputation of the business school, and also the reputation of the university. So that's the reason why, that's the answer to the question, why York? Just one final thing I'd like to say as well is that we've reconnected with York in the last few years in another way with money. And this is through our foundation. It's the Krembil Foundation, which is run by Mark Krembil and his team. And the foundation today is primarily focused on basic research in the health sciences, principally neurodegeneration and the diseases of the immune system. I like to think that the business model there is sort of a venture capital type model within a philanthropy envelope. And so I'm really impressed with Mark and his team and what the reputation they're gaining across the country to supply this early stage financing and help scientists along. Reason I bring it up, we did 3 projects with York University scientists. We did one with Carrie Hoffman, Dr. Carrie Hoffman, and it was studying neuroplasticity, and the outcome of that was fairly successful, so we did another one, a larger one, and Brain Canada partnered with us on that one to study sort of the modulation of memory circuits. The third project was with Derek Wilson, and this is ongoing at the moment, to study the molecular origins of neurodegenerative disease. Clearly, this stuff isn't going to create a cure tomorrow, but that's not what we're about. You have to advance the knowledge, and over time, other scientists take it, and hopefully then there'll be a cure. If you think of the neurodegeneration, the holy grail would be finding the cure for Alzheimer's. And millions, not millions, billions have been expended trying to do that, and to date have largely failed. It's really not surprising because we're treating the symptoms. Nobody knows what causes Alzheimer's. Until you get at the cause, it'll be hard to get at the therapy. That's what we're trying to do in the foundation. I was really pleased to find 2 scientists at York of that caliber that we could help support. And one final news item. My grandson, Jake Krembil, graduated a year ago with a master's in management from the Schulich School. So I think York's part of our DNA now. Thank you very much.